So someone said something to you this week, okay? And you're still thinking about what they said. Maybe it was a comment from your boss, a text from a family member, or something a friend said that seemed fine at that time, at that moment. But hours later, you were basically still turning it over in your head. Days later, maybe you're still thinking about it. I mean, you've replayed it. You've imagined, what you should have said back to them. You've wondered what they really meant by what they said. And a small part of you has been carrying it around ever since you heard it. See, if that's you, I want you to know something. See, you're not oversensitive. You're not weak. You're not broken. Your brain did exactly what it was built to do. The problem is what it was built for doesn't match the world you're living in right now. Hi, I'm Alan Stafford, and welcome to the Rewire. So here's what I've watched happen for decades. You see someone who's sharp, capable, successful by any reasonable measure. They get one comment at work, or maybe one look from someone they deeply care about, or maybe it's a text that lands wrong with them. And the rest of their day, well, it's shot, it's gone. Not because they're dramatic, not because, well, they can't handle criticism, but because something fired in them that they didn't choose and, well, couldn't stop. And then on top of the original hurt comes the second wave. Things like, why am I like this? Why does this bother me so much? And why can't I just let it go? So now they're hurt. And they're frustrated with themselves for being hurt, which, if you're keeping track, is two problems where there used to be one. See, I want to show you what's actually happening in there, okay? Not because information will fix it by itself, but because once you see the machinery, you stop blaming yourself for being human. Your brain has a job it takes very seriously, and it's to keep you alive, to keep you in the group, so to speak. Because for most of human history, those two things, well, they were the same thing. If you got kicked out of the tribe, well, you didn't last through the winter out on your own. So your brain evolved a very fast, very loud alarm system that fires the moment it detects social danger. Somebody disapproves of you. Somebody pulls away. Somebody says something that might mean you're about to be rejected. Hey, the alarm fires. And here's the part most people don't know. That alarm fires before the thinking part of your brain has even heard what was said. I mean, you're already having a reaction before you finish processing the sentence. Your heart rate changes, your breathing shifts, your stomach tightens. And by the time your conscious mind catches up and starts thinking, wait a second here, why am I so bothered by this? The reaction is already a few minutes old. I mean, you didn't choose it, you couldn't have. Now, here's where it gets interesting. That alarm system was calibrated for a world where rejection actually could kill you. Today, though, your boss making a face in a meeting is not a threat to your survival. Your sister-in-law's weird comment at dinner, hey, that is not a threat to your survival. Or a text that ends in an exclamation point instead of a period is definitely not a threat to your survival. But hey, your alarm system doesn't know that. It treats all of it the same. A raised eyebrow at work and the predator in the bushes get the same chemical response, which is why you can go home from a perfectly fine day and one small comment from that day is still running in the background 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours later. It's not that you can't let it go, it's that a part of your brain has categorized it as a survival threat, and survival threats don't get filed away. They stay active until the system decides, hey, you're safe. So when you've been replaying something all week, that's not a weakness. That's a biological system doing exactly what it was designed to do on a threat it was never designed for. Here's why this matters beyond feeling bad. See, when that alarm is firing even quietly in the background, you're not thinking clearly. Your decision-making is pretty much compromised. Your judgment of the other person is compromised. Your ability to have the next conversation is, you guessed it, compromised. So you're trying to run your life on a brain that thinks you're being chased. And the cost of that over time is enormous. Relationships where you pulled back from someone because of a misread. Decisions you made to avoid having feelings instead of building a life. Conversations you didn't have. Risks you didn't take. Things you didn't say because your alarm system said, well, this isn't safe, when the truth was, this is just uncomfortable. See, a lot of people think they're making choices. They're actually managing an alarm system. And the Rewire is how you tell the difference. So this is the practice, and it has a name, and I call it the 3-second window, because that's roughly how long you have between the moment the alarm fires and the moment your story, what you tell yourself, begins. So let me explain what I mean by your story, okay? See, when your alarm fires, your brain doesn't just give you a feeling. it gives you a feeling plus an instant explanation for that feeling. I'll give you an example. Let's say your boss said something short to you today, okay, at work. Your alarm fires, then the story arrives. It might be something that you tell to yourself, she's upset with me. Or your partner is quiet at dinner. Your alarm fires and your story arrives and it says something like, I did something wrong. Or your friend took 6 hours to respond to a text. The alarm fires and your story arrives. Hey, they're pulling away. And here's the thing. The story feels like information. It feels like you're reading the situation, but you're not. You're reading your alarm. And the 3-second window is a practice for catching the gap between the feeling and the story. And it has basically 3 steps. And all 3 happen in your head in real time the moment you notice you're bothered. So in step 1, name the fire, not the situation, the fire. You say to yourself quietly, my alarm is going off. And that's it. I mean, you're not solving anything yet. You're just noticing that a biological system is active. And this one sentence said internally changes your relationship to what's actually happening because now you're the person watching the alarm, not the person being the alarm. Step 2 is to separate the event from the story. So ask yourself, what actually happened without my interpretation? I mean, your boss said we need to talk later. That's the event. She's upset with me is the story you're telling yourself. Or I'm about to get fired is the story. Or I did something wrong is, again, your story. The event is 5 words. Everything else is your alarm, basically writing fiction. And step 3 is hold the gap. You see, you don't have to resolve it. You don't have to figure out the truth of the situation in the next 10 seconds either. You just have to hold the gap between the event and the story long enough for your thinking brain, well, to catch up. Sometimes that's just a minute. Sometimes it's an hour. And sometimes it's the whole drive home. But if you can hold it, the alarm basically quiets on its own. And when it quiets, you can actually think about what happened, which is usually the moment you realize the story you were about to believe, well, wasn't true. So name the fire, separate the event from the story, and hold the gap. 3 steps, all in your head. And nobody else has to know you're doing it. That's the 3-second window, my friend. Here's what I want you to do this week. Pick one situation where you know your alarm fires. You already know which one it is, okay? I don't want you to overthink this. You know, maybe it's your mother-in-law, maybe it's a particular coworker, or maybe it's your inbox first thing in the morning. Whatever it is, the next time you feel that familiar tightening, run the 3-second window. Name the fire. Separate the event from the story. Hold the gap. See, you're not going to do it perfectly, okay? And the first few times, well, you're going to catch it halfway through. Sometimes you'll catch it in an hour, or maybe on the drive home. And that's fine. That's basically how rewiring works. Every time you notice the fire and name it, you're building a new circuit. A small one, but it compounds. And after a few weeks of practice, you'll catch it earlier. After a few months, you'll catch it in real time. And after a year, the alarm will still fire because it's always going to fire, but you'll have a completely different relationship to it. And the cost of taking things personally, well, that starts to drop. And one more thing. So you might notice as you practice this that some of your alarms, well, they're a lot older, much older than the situations that are setting them off right now. Some of what's firing in you today got installed when you were maybe 7 years old or younger. And that's going to be normal. That's most of us. And it doesn't mean something is wrong with you. It means you have a nervous system with a long memory. And it's basically still trying to protect you from things that aren't there anymore. So the rewire isn't about silencing that system. It's about teaching it slowly that you're safe now. If you came into this video thinking you were too sensitive, I hope you're leaving with something, well, a little different. You're not too sensitive. You have a nervous system that's working hard, and the goal isn't to make it stop working. The goal is to stop letting it run the show. See, you can be a person who feels things very deeply and still be a person who thinks clearly, and those aren't opposites. One is the raw material, the other is the skill, and the rewire is the practice that turns one into the other. Next time, what we're going to do is look at what happens when the same alarm system fires outward instead of inward, when you stop being yourself to keep the peace. It's called people pleasing, and it's the same machinery wearing a different mask. I'll see you then. Think sharper, stay sovereign, my friend.